Welcome to Ham Radio Basics Live. I hope you enjoy this very special rebroadcast with Walt from Coastal Waves and Wires. So without any further ado, let's roll that clip in its entirety. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Ham Radio Basics Live, Season 2, Episode 17. Very special guest, Walt from Coastal Waves and Wires. Walt, welcome very much. How are you this evening?
I'm great. Thank you so much. This is great. Thanks for inviting me. It's good to be here.
Well, I got to say this. People talk about being a fanboy of this and that. I have been a fan from you of your channel since day one, and I think the thing that drew me to your channel was you're like me. I like to keep things simple, and and just lay it out there. And you've always been like that, and that was a magnetic pull for me to your channel. I mean, it was, and you call it like it is. It's just, yeah, I could probably talk for an hour and give you accolades for an hour
Keep talking.
over that.
Keep
But
talking. No, you're making me blush. Thank you. I appreciate it. I tell people this before. I work in. We talked before we started here. I work in shipbuilding, and I've always been what we call a field engineer. I work in design and engineering, but I've been the guy that goes from the theoretical, math and science and physics thinkers, and I go out to the layman in the field that are banging metal and cutting steel or whatever, and I kind of do the in between these two guys to show them how we're going to get something built, a ship or whatever. And I think I try to carry that over into my channel. I was like, look, I'll be honest with you. I'm a structural engineer, not a RF engineer. I'm learning this too, but I try to, as I learn something and I want to portray it or put it into a video or whatever. I'm not saying that people are not smart. People are intelligent, very intelligent, but I'm trying to put it out there in a way that, like I do at work. Okay, listen, guys, let's don't worry about all the math and all the science or whatever. You need to cut that there, weld that there, do that there, and make the ship float. So that's kind of what I bring to it's just who I am, as a person and my job, and it's just carried over into my YouTube channel and my ham radio hobby.
And that's fantastic. And what I like to do is I like to start out. I'll tell you how I got started in ham radio, and then I'd like to find out the same for you. I moved to Florida in 2011, and by 2014, I was trying to think, getting married and getting acclimated to Florida is a whole different ball game because I lived in Ohio for 30 years, and it's just, this is not Ohio, okay? And one of the things that I needed to be, and I was keenly aware of, was communications in case of a hurricane, because unfortunately, that's a fact of life in the state of Florida. You need to prepare for that. And and somebody said, the only real way that you'll be able to communicate during a hurricane is going to be by ham radio, okay? And that's how I got started in it. And I was one of those who within probably 9 months, I went from technician to amateur extra. Boom. And it was in 2014, and and I'm here, and then all of a sudden work just hit again. Well, I had some things happen. My mom had moved down with us, and she ended up passing away, and then grandkids happened, and back and forth to Ohio and everything. But the last couple of years, I've gotten settled down to where I can devote time to it, and that's one of the things. That's why I started my channel. I started my channel because I'm I want to make it, I want to make this hobby fun for people, and I don't want to overcomplicate it. That's kind of been my goal. So
Right on.
so I just want to find out, how you got started with ham.
We're very like-minded there. I started my venture into the radio hobby. I kind of go beyond ham radio when I talk radio. My number one love, I love ham radio. Don't get me wrong. I love all radio. I really started as a medium wave DXer when I was like 9 years old. We lived, and part of the whole thing of Coastal Waves and Wires, my front yard was a beach when I was a kid. It was a road and then the beach. And I would lay in bed at night and listen to my tiny AM radio and just would pull in signals from all over the place. And I'd lay there in bed imagining this is in Virginia. And I would imagine that I was, I'd hear a station in, back then, we're talking the late 60s, early 70s, AM radio was amazing. I Mexico City or whatever, you hear this on AM radio, and I'd be like, oh, this is so cool. That kind of went into, suddenly one day I found and got an old shortwave radio, and it was amazing. Well, like I said, I lived right on the water. My grandparents were farmers and lived well inland, and I'd go there and spend summers with them, and I'd notice, still listen, back AM radio was great. This is in North Carolina now. My grandfather and I used to sit out on the back porch on Saturday nights and listen to WSM out of Nashville, the Grand Ole Opry, and it was just, I was just in love with AM radio. But what I noticed when I get back to the home in Virginia, right on the water, the signals would boost up, and that I've known for a long time that, okay, there's something magical about being next to salt water. Well, shortwave, AM radio, shortwave radio, now we're talking like 71, 72. I'm old. I'm 62 years old. But I started studying for my novice back then and learning code. And we're talking getting close to the mid-70s now. And then if you see right there, then CB craze kicked in like crazy. If you remember, everybody had a CB.
Yeah.
And I got really, really heavily into CB and just got into it. Been an 11 meter CB guy for a very, very long time. I cannot confirm or deny that I've kind of bent the rules a little bit with that, but hey, it was CB, and that's what we did. And was really into that. Meanwhile, got married very young. I was in my early 20s. I went to Old Dominion University and then went to a shipyard apprenticeship, and I was working. We had a child, and so I really just lost the whole ham radio thing. But I always, my wife, even to this day, we've got to have a radio, and she's kind of got into it. I've been married for almost 40 years, and I remember when events would happen. My son was very young, 3 or 4 years old, when Princess Diana had what happened to her in Paris. And I said, we were watching it on the news. I said, let's go tune in. And we tuned into the BBC. Like, I always had a really nice shortwave receiver. And we heard it when the BBC announced that, Princess Diana had passed. And then we ran downstairs to cut the TV on. This is the middle of the night. And BBC, CNN and Fox, I don't even know if Fox was around. All the news channels were saying, she's been in an accident. And my wife was, wow, you realize that through shortwave radio, we know what's going on before the news media even does. I said, well, trust me, they got somebody listening to a radio. And it took like an hour before it's happened. So, my wife at that point was hooked to. I love shortwave radio. Well, time goes on, and I've always said I'm going to go back and get my ham license. And then right at COVID, okay, that's it. I'm doing it. And I just went, 2019, I sat and got my tech and general together. And I was a general for like 2 years. Matter of fact, when I first started going to Poland, the first trip or two, I was a general. Then I went ahead and got the extra. So I have not been a ham that long, but I have been building antennas and playing with radios, specifically 11 meter band radios, and listening to shortwave radios, medium wave radio, all that. It's just been a major interest of mine for a very, very long time, and that's how I'm here now. I've always loved YouTube as well. When I first got into YouTube, it started because I used to get on, and I know you're there too, where all of us, with social media, there's a lot of groups I'd be on Facebook. And I was on my way to Kauai, Hawaii and at this point I was a general, and I was like, I was going to build an antenna. I was going to be staying right at Hawaii. All the hotels are basically at the beach. I was going to be working on a base there. And I put out this thing on it. It's like, hey guys, I'm going to Hawaii. And my sketches. I sketched up this little vertical antenna, and I posted it on a site, on a Facebook site, and said, I'm going to build this vertical. I'm just taking my Zygu 5105, the little 5-watt thing or whatever. And I just got bombarded with, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're doing. You're not going to all the way. Kauai's the last island out. You're not going to make any contacts out there. You're all wrong anyway. You should be building a dipole, not a vertical. And I know vertical antennas, even at this point, with by salt water or whatever. They're just bombarding me. I said, you know what? I'm going to make a video of this. I'm going to video it, start a channel, and I put it up and I had success. And then from that point, it snowballed. I was like, I like this. And I just kept making videos and making videos. And here I am. In my wildest dream, I'm getting ready to I'm coming up on 20,000 subscribers. In my wildest dream, I never would have thought that ham radio would be that I would be. And there's guys, way bigger than me. You look at Jason and Josh and all these guys, Mike, Cade, MRD, or whatever. These guys are really rolling. And I would have never thought it. And I try to be true to myself and my hobby too, and to people that I really appreciate, people that subscribe to my channel so much, because, I just got back from Dayton, and, people, I'm not going to say who, but there's a couple different YouTubers pulled me aside and kind of gave me the gears, gave me a hard time, where I've kind of ragged on them for showing so many products and not, and that's not my thing. I said, I'm not going to like be bought or whatever. And they kind of really gave me a hard time about it. And I'm sorry. I mean, I didn't mean anything against them. I just who I am and what the channel is to me. Yeah. I mean, I just did a review on that dually antenna. That's a one-off, one guy who's building stuff and selling them on Etsy. I like supporting guys like that. If he sent me something and it worked, I did it. I did for a while. Chameleon was really hitting me hard, and I did a few videos on them. And that was kind of when the point. I liked it. Their stuff is great. Their stuff is expensive. And I was sitting there thinking, morally, I'm trying to get these people into the hobby. And right off the bat, I feel like I was trying to take money from them. Nothing is Chameleon antenna. I still use the stuff they gave me. I love it. It was great stuff. But I made a decision right then. I wasn't going to be a guy that was trying to take hardworking people's money from them, and even not even just so I could get something for free. And so that's who I am, and what the channel's all about. And I'm not saying, listen, if Zygu sends me the 6200 for free, I'm taking it. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not saying I wouldn't, but that's kind of what I am and what I'm trying to be as a ham YouTuber. I love YouTube, and I'll be honest with you, my favorite YouTubers aren't ham guys. There's so many YouTube channels that I watch. I'm a Jeep guy. I watch Jeep. I'm a boat building, sailing guy. I got guys that do that I just enjoy, and I kind of learn from them as well when I watch them. I try to okay, I want to do my channel something similar to that. So that's me.
Well, and it's real interesting because I'm on a similar track myself. I actually got started in YouTube back in 2017. I have a drone channel. It's called Bill the Drone Reviewer, and on my wildest dreams, I didn't imagine that taking on. I'm like pushing 15,000 subscribers. That thing has exploded. I mean, a lot more than I ever thought it would. Tuesday nights, I have one of the most popular shows on every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. I had the CEO of Anzu Robotics on last night.
Oh, cool.
It's another drone company. He started out with DJI and just finding out what they're doing. It just, and that's kind of how I got started on the whole YouTube thing. And I wanted to kind of carry over my whole gist with my drone channel was, I want to keep it simple and I want to make things presentable because a lot of guys will do 20-minute, 30-minute videos. And I know I've read study after study is, after 5 minutes or so, people are going to lose interest real quick. Okay. So you need to kind of like boom, boom, boom. And that's
Right.
what I do with almost all my videos is they're about 10 minutes or less because, the more I talk, and if it's more than 10, 15 minutes, I'm going to split it up. I'm going to put a part two out there because I want to keep people's interest. Okay. Well, it's real interesting because you mentioned Dayton. We went to Dayton, and it was so funny. We stayed on the west side of Columbus. My kids live in Columbus, Ohio, so it was kind of a dual purpose trip for us. Our grandkids are there as well too. So we stayed on the west side of Columbus because I know that area like the back of my hand. My two older children went to Cedarville University, which is a stone's throw away from Xenia. So I took my wife past there. We went there. We got there. It was pouring down. Probably Friday. It was
I
pouring
remember.
down rain. I mean, it was horrible going there. Okay, we get there, park at the high school, take the bus over, and then we're there for probably a good 4 or 5 hours. I only ran, and I couldn't believe it. I only ran into one YouTuber the whole time I was there, Frank from Tank Radio. I didn't see anybody else, and my eyes were out and looking and engaging with people. Well, in fact, the only other person that I saw was Ray Novak from ICOM. Um, I didn't see anybody else that I recognized, but it was so. And I'm comparing it to Hamcation because I've been to Hamcation a couple of times, and I saw everybody there. I saw all the YouTubers there, but I'm going there to Hamvention, and I'm like, I didn't see anybody there.
That's
We
wild.
still had a good time.
I saw everybody pretty much, but I knew like Mike, KMRD and guys like that. I knew where they were going to be. We talked beforehand, you know what I mean. So that's kind of how I knew where we're going to be in a camper. We're going to be back over here. Come see us or whatever. So I kind of knew
Yeah,
where those guys would be at. I learned a lesson though. There was so many people. You're one of the people that I wanted to see there that I didn't. I think next year, if I do go to Dayton next year, I got to see schedule wise if that will happen. If I do, I think I'm gonna put it out there and have like maybe everybody have like a meet and greet at one spot. You know what I mean? Just get it out there way
yeah.
ahead of time because I feel terrible. Not that I'm, I don't think I'm like Mr. YouTube star or anything, but it bothers me when so many people goes, oh, I went all the way there and just hope to say I could meet you all, and I didn't get to see you, whatever. And I'm a softie. I feel like a jerk. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, man. I wish I would have seen.
No, I know what you're saying, and I think a couple of things for me. I think we're going to stay in the Dayton Xenia area next time instead of Columbus. And I do know they have that what do they call it? 4 days in May or something.
Right.
I think it's like on Thursday night where a bunch of the YouTubers were there, and I saw that. I saw Mike K at MRD, and a lot of the guys were there for that. And I told my wife, I said, let's go. We're going to go a little early. We're going to do that. Go there a little earlier and catch that because I think that'd be a good chance to connect with some people. Like I said, I connected with everybody over in Orlando, which was I mean, it's just we'll see. And the whole scale with Orlando is okay. It's really only basically two buildings in Orlando, okay? Because
Right.
all the vendors are real. I don't know if you've been there or not.
Not
I
yet.
mean,
I think I'm going this year. I really want to.
yeah, most of the vendors are in one building. So I mean, it's like you're going to see everybody there, and it's super packed, super
Right.
crowded, and in here. But with Dayton, it's just like super spread out. I mean, it's you're all over the place. And the other thing I was telling my wife that amazed me was the people standing in line at the food trucks. I'm like, okay, you know what? It smells great, probably is great, but you know what? I didn't come here to stand in line at food trucks.
I
Okay.
wanted one of those legendary pork chop sandwiches, but I never got one because I wasn't going to wait
Oh,
that
I know. I talked to Mike from he lives up in New York. He's a good friend of mine. I've had him on the channel before, and he said, yeah, he had one of those, and he said it was
long.
worth it. He said it was good. So, kind of getting back to some things about that. I mean, it's always I had a good takeaway from that. It was a good time, and what was so funny, and this just kind of blew me away. You know, I had known that ICOM was going to be doing some kind of presentation or whatever there, and I went over and I knew Ray was busy talking to other people. I shook his hand. I've met him before. He knows me. I've had him on the channel, and and it just so happened he was standing over the display case where this X60 was. So I totally on purpose accidentally got it, but then I go back and I'm looking at the film. I go to my wife, oh my gosh, I got all that. It just like
Yeah.
it kind of surprised me. But
Cool.
and I put a video out about it, and what kind of got me was, it's like a lot of people are saying, well, they're super secretive about it. They're not, and you know what? I'm taking it from the standpoint, Raycom did something unique. Okay, as far as a marketing aspect, all right, it's gotten people talking. I mean, good, bad, or indifferent, but it's really garnered a lot of interest and gotten people talking about things. Well, what's this going to be? Is it going to be like an SDR, like a flex radio, or is it, just a whole? It started a nice chain of things out there, which I thought was pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
I went
but
over and checked it out. I mean, if people that know me know that I'm not an ICOM or a Yaesu guy, but I had a Yaesu 851 and I didn't like the menu system and all that. I sold it or whatever. I'm a cheap radio guy. I just like cheap, inexpensive radios because more is better for me, I guess.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more because I ended up Radioddity gave me a content creators discount,
Yeah,
and I got a 6,200. And so far, so good. I've been pretty impressed with it. I haven't had a chance to. We're dog sitting my beautiful stepdaughter's Shih Tzu, which is a puppy, and it's like
right.
a full-time job. But I haven't got a chance to hook it up to a vertical, and that's what I'm going to try to do this weekend. But so far, so good out of the box. I'm pretty impressed with it. The only thing that kind of frustrates me is, I really wish they would have done something with a touch menu system because you got to push those buttons and then you got to turn the outer knob to go ahead and go around in the menu and stuff. And it's a little cumbersome with that, but all in all, I'm pretty impressed with it so far. So I'm
I
crossing my fingers.
a love-hate relationship with Radioddity. I actually went through. I took one night. I was bored. I went through comment after comment in my videos, and I cut and paste over 100 comments from my videos where people said, "Well, I bought a G90 because of you." Well, I put them all together, and I put all this together, and I emailed, and I've contacted Radioddity, try to get in their program with them. I emailed them this or whatever. It's like, oh, this is just the people that commented. Over 100 G90s were sold because of me. Hey, could you guys like maybe give me something to review or whatever? I've done that more than once. I've never gotten a reply from them. I don't know if someone
Wow.
doesn't like me, if I ticked them off or whatever. But so I mean, I have nothing against Radioddity. My God, I've purchased a G90 from them, a 5105 from them. I purchased my XPA 125B amp from them. I purchased X6100 from them. I've since sold that. Zygu speaker. I mean, I have just dumped some money into them because I really do love the Zygu brand. I don't know if they love me. So I'm kind of like, I see all these people getting all these radios. I'm like, you know, what did I do? I mean, I did nothing but sell radios for you. And I don't, like I said earlier, I'm not trying to be a salesman, but I always tell people the G90 is the radio for like $400. It's a shack in a box. It's everything you could imagine. It's just enough power with 20 watts. I mean, it's my dream radio. And if someone makes a radio that'll compete with that, that's a better radio than that, I'm just like, I'm switching teams because this team hadn't been as good to me as I have been to them. I know that sounds like sour grapes, but when I see people like my friend Mike, he gets the G106 in the mail and then he throws it out in the lawn and jokes on it like it's dog manure or whatever. And here I am begging them for one to review. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, guys, this is crazy. So that's my
Yeah.
that's my kind of aggravation with Radioddity. I mean, I'm sure there's some good, but maybe I just not as popular as I think I am, and I'm being a little bit egotistical, thinking they should do something for me. But I did show them the evidence, and I would have thought that they would have.
Yeah, that's tremendous. I mean, eventually, I got to think that they'll do something for you. Well, see, I have the same thing with drones, okay? Because I've been a great purveyor of DJI drones. I thousands of dollars worth of DJI drones. And what happened was, and I kind of did the same thing with them. And this is back in 2018. I ended up getting a pass for my wife and I to the premiere of the Mavic 2, and it was over in Brooklyn, over in New York City. And it was the last time they did an in-person event because every time they release a new product now, it's all done online. They don't do it anymore in person. So we got a chance to go to that, which I thought was pretty cool of them. I mean,
Yeah,
and then I find out, I was getting myself acclimated to the world of ham radio as well too, and I find out, well, no, they don't, and I'm thinking like the Joshes and the Jasons, oh, they give them radio. No, they let them borrow a radio and then they get it, but then they have to send it back, kind of a thing. Which I thought, it's like with drones, they give you the drone and they want you to do reviews on it, okay, and
right.
you get it out there, and they let you end up keeping the drone. But and I'm finding out with like Jason, Josh, others, they'll send them a product, but they got to send the product back. So that
Right.
was kind of I was kind of like getting used to that, which I thought was a little bit different. But you know, one of the things that I've always been interested in with for day one, okay, is QRP. I mean, it just really has. It's really kind of like it's one of those things. Like call it a challenge, if you
Right.
will, okay? It's like I think it's really cool. For example, okay, the first contact I made on my 705, and it's with 5 watts, okay? Wasn't even trying. I think it was on 20 meters, okay? Guy in Arizona, loud and clear. It's like, and I'm on 5 watts, okay? I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, this is just too cool,"
Feeling
okay,
it.
when
It is.
that hit.
I love. I am. I'm 20-watt Wally right now, but you know what I mean. I do love. I love QRP. I always have, and it's I just love low power to me, and it is not QRP. And people will go. I'll say when I say I'm 20 watts, are you QRP? It's not. To me, that's why I like that power because I can break the pileups or whatever with it. But I'm with you. I like making those QRP contacts is just amazing. I got what almost 2 years ago now. I got the True USDX, and when you get that thing, I don't know if you had one or if you've experimented with that radio. You have to calibrate the frequency on it. I guess it's like 8.1 or whatever. You get it and you calibrate it, and set it all up. Well, it's like I was going to go do a video on it. I just got it. I got it in the mail like on Friday. I was like, I'm going out tomorrow with it. Saturday, I'm going to take it out and use it for the first time. And I wake up. I'm an early morning guy. I woke up at like 3 or 4 in the morning. Went back in my shack in my house, and I plugged in my regular. It's probably the G90. I had it, and I was tuning around, and I heard um, who now I've become friends with him. A friend of mine in Brisbane, VK4KA, and he was talking to somebody in the States, and this is like 4 in the morning. It was springtime. I said, okay, so I looked at the frequency. So I took the antenna off and put it on my True SDX and started calibrating the frequency, knowing that okay, back to the G90, okay, perfect. Back to the thing, okay, I got it dialed in right. So he finishes at QSO and he says QRZ. I'm sitting there at home with this little True SDX in my hand, 5-watt little radio. I got it plugged in a battery. So I go Kilo 4, Oscar Golf Oscar. And the next thing I hear is Kilo 4, Oscar Golf Oscar. Hey, KA, good to meet you, mate. How you doing? And I'm thinking, I got this little True SDX in my hand, 4 in the morning, sitting in my bedroom
Wow.
in my house, and I just made a 5-watt. And he goes, "You're 5'7", mate. You're 5'7". And I was like, "Holy cow!" Now since
Wow.
then, I've made a lot of contacts with him, and in his defense, he has an incredible Moxon antenna, and he could probably hear the fan that's running in this room right now from Australia. I mean,
Yeah.
he was doing, but just that thrill of knowing that I got through with that little thing with five watts was man, how exciting is that? So I hear you when you say QRP. You're preaching to the choir, brother.
Yeah, and well, okay, for me, where I live, it's kind of problematic for me because I live in an HOA, okay? And I'm friends with Bob, HOA Ham, okay? And
Mhm.
he's another Tampa resident. He lives right across the bay from me. And he's done just some incredibly unique things to be able to do that because I literally it's like the military around here. I mean, no, I mean I'm lucky, when I set my vertical up, I do it. I have a Chameleon MPass 2.0 and I set it up in the backyard because nobody can see me from the backyard because we have trees in the back and from the front, and nobody can see with the sky and everything. And that's how I'm good. But recently they allowed us to install 20-foot flagpoles. So what I'm gonna do is I gotta get it approved by the HOA, but I'm gonna install a 20-foot flagpole and then run it up to the house and then drill a hole in the wall. That's like
Yeah,
my wife hears that go la la la. Um, but no, gonna do that. And I told her, I said, DirecTV does it all the time, so there's no
yeah,
problem with that. My only concern that I have is we don't pay. We have our lawn maintenance is taken care of for us, but there's sprinklers that run throughout the grass. So I got to be careful with running the coax from the flagpole to the house. So that's been kind of like it's kind of been a sticking point because somebody said, you're going to have to go underneath. Somebody said you can just do it on top and everything, and I got to take a look and see because I don't know how far down that is. Because if it's
right.
not too far down, I'm going to have to go underneath. But if it is kind of far down, I can probably just go on top. So
Yeah,
that's my whole thing because I'm all set up. I'm ready to go behind me is my work setup, my workstation, but it's also going to serve as my ham shack back there as well too. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I'm in a somewhat similar situation. I'm in a historic district, and you're not supposed to have ham radio antennas around me. But fortunately, my condo is on the top floor of an old building that was built in the 1800s, and my back room, the window out is to the fire escape, and it's kind of hidden away from everybody. So I put an old vertical, the old, you've seen them, the Taurus Harvest, or the Euro Sigmacom HF360, the no radial, whatever. But what I did was I ran a ground wire from it's a metal roof out there, flat, from the ground side, and just like screwed it into the roof. And like I said, I made that 5 watt, QSO to Australia. I make them all the time in the morning on that compromise antenna. But I'm lucky. But every day I'm just waiting, and it's been up there now 3 or 4 years. I cringe. I was like, sooner or later someone's going to go, hey, what's that? It's like, it happens. It happens.
Yeah, and that's one of the things for me. It's like I'm okay with doing what I'm doing right now, but one of the things that's really kind of been a challenge for me is trying to do POTA down here in Florida because our state parks, there's two things that you have to contend with in the state of Florida. One of them is called alligators, the other one is called snakes when you go to state parks. It's
Yep.
just a fact of life. And the nearest state park to me, see, I don't have one that's close enough to me, so it would be kind of a distance for me. So I'm kind of like, that's why I haven't. It's not that I don't want to do POTA. It's just that's my whole thing. I mean, I'll talk to guys at parks. I'll do that all day long, but I haven't been able to do that. So I'm kind of trying to figure out a way to go ahead and do that. I may do that from. I got back in December. I got a Toyota Tundra, and I'm looking at some options to do HF out of my Tundra, and that's one of the things I'm considering is I can drive to a park and do it from inside the truck. So,
Well,
so
that's
that's
where I'm at right now. If you've seen over the last few months, my Jeep is basically my ham shack. And it's a mess. I don't have anything like really permanently installed there, but I'm starting. And I think I'm going to add that to the channel. Some people might not like that, but I'm kind of incorporating a little bit more Jeep stuff into it because I just love Jeeps, and I really the idea, and I have this thing that I really want to make this Jeep, with, and like right now I have the drive on flagpole holder that I can put my DX Commander in or my Spider Beam in. Now I have the permanent 3/8 fitting in the back where I can, like I just drove from Virginia up here to Rhode Island with played around with different antennas. I got to find a way to kind of semi-permanently mount the radio on the inside, but I'm probably going to be here for a while, maybe even through the winter up here in Rhode Island, and I know it gets cold, and the opposite problem that you have. So I'm probably do POTA sitting in the Jeep. Like I like to go build an antenna outside, and it's funny. I plan videos, I have ideas, and I make the thumbnails ahead of time. I just did, like an hour before this, I just made a thumbnail and I just called it my ham radio shack is a Jeep. You know what I mean? And that's like
yeah.
that's an idea. I don't know if I'll do the video, but it's just an idea. But a Tundra, you got, once again, it's a great vehicle to do that. And
Oh yeah. Well, like you, okay, I'm a Tundra enthusiast. I actually started a Tundra channel called Tundra Nation
oh,
Basics.
cool.
And I'm pretty close to I'm almost 800, 900 subscribers, and it's really picking up steam. And what's really picked up steam lately is they've had a massive recall on the engines for Tundras.
Right.
I don't know if you heard about that, but one of the plants where they were building the engines, metal shavings would get inside the block. And eventually, what happens is it seizes and it's a complete failure, and they've had to rebuild engines. And it's like, well, and what I did was the first oil change, I said, "Get me the filter," okay? And what I did was when I got home, I dumped the
Appreciate it.
filter out and
Yeah.
I let it drain into a cup, and I took a look and I looked and I didn't see any metal shavings. But I found out through the dealership, there's a company that you can send, and they need, I think, 3 or 4 ounces of oil, and they can do a complete analysis on the oil in your vehicle. So I'm going to do that next round. And what I did was I did this at a 5,000 mile service because Toyota recommends a 10,000, and I did it at 5,000 just instead, just because that's one of the things that I wanted to do, and I want to stay on top of it. And the other saving grace that I did, and this was totally by accident, couldn't find. I was looking specifically. I wanted to get a red Tundra Limited 4x4, and it's like they were still at the time back last year. It was still trying to pull teeth, trying to find it. But I told him, I said, okay, let's add this in the mix and see if it helps. Let's go and take a look and see if you have a hybrid. I did that. I had it within in like 3 or 4 weeks. For
Well,
some reason, they had more hybrids available than non-hybrids, and it's so funny because I'm down in Florida, and I wanted to get a 4x4. I did not want just a rear wheel drive only. Okay, I wanted to have a 4x4 with this down here. Yeah, and everybody asked me, "What do you want a 4x4 in Florida?" And I said, "Well, you know what? Understand when you live down in the state of Florida, you have these things called torrential rainstorms. Okay, and you need to have a 4x4 down here. Okay, it's not kind of not optional. Okay, and that's something I've always had down here in the state of Florida, whatever vehicle I've had, because it's just you need it. I mean, it's just because you get that rain, and sometimes it's more than just a couple of inches, and you need that power with that truck. So, but that's for my channel. And what's real interesting, and one of the things that I found out, Walt, is I have some of the guys in the chat follow me on my drone channel, and I have some guys here follow me from my ham radio channel, follow me on the drone channel as well, which I thought it's kind of a neat
that
crossover.
is
I
great. That's a good
kind of
cross.
had that. I like that. And there's some really good people, and and that's one of the things I've tried to stay out of the fray. And I know you mentioned, you know, if somebody said, like, for example, on my drone channel, okay, I get offers to review things all the time, but they're not drones. They're selling me heating pads and
Yep.
stools and
Yeah.
just other
Well,
stuff. And I'm like,
I get those all the time. I mean, yeah.
time out here,
Yeah.
guys. This is not what my channel's about. So, but anyway,
Hey, while I'm thinking about it, you mentioned something. I used to own a Porsche, and the Porsche I owned had the intermittent. It was called the IMS bearing, and it would fail. And similar what you were talking about with the Tundra. What I did, and what was one of the general things for us Porsche owners did, was get a magnetic um, oil pan plug, and then when you change the oil, if you pull that off, if there was shavings in that, you would see them. They would stick because of the magnetic drain pan plug would do that. I don't know if the Tundras, or if you could get those, but that's
yeah,
I always did
that's
it.
a
Kind of
great point.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to them next time about it. Well, it was when I had mine in, you know, I had to wait 6 months to get a second key fob. It was ridiculous. I was out on the forums and I kept asking people, I'm like, okay, guys, it's been 6 months. I still don't have I paid $70,000 for a truck and
Well,
I don't have a second key fob.
yeah.
But finally, I called Toyota up and they finally said, you're in queue. You'll get one before the end of the month. Sure enough, I got it, notified me the app it was in. And while I had mine in for service, they went ahead and they programmed it. So I got a second key fob because my wife has been beating my eardrum. I want my key for your truck. So it's like, okay, you got it now. But that all went well. Um, One of the things for me as well too, and when I got started out, did a lot of basic videos, and I did things like on ARRL, and I wanted to do some things, when people would come to the channel to answer a lot of questions because people will ask, what are the three categories of licenses? How do I go about getting them? And everything, and that's one of the things I did. I spent a good month or so putting some videos together and getting them out there to kind of like set a level playing field so people could have a place to go and explain it in English to them and not explain
Right.
it at 100,000 foot level. Meet them right where they're at, and
I'll tell
those are
you,
the
the first time I saw you, the thing that attracted me was the name of your channel. Ham Radio Basics is just a great name. I like it, and I think I think you hit a home run ball there when you named the channel.
Thank you, Walt. Who's really helped me a lot has been Jason because I've behind the scenes, he has been absolutely fantastic with me. He helped me find a time slot to do because I don't want to step on other people's toes because
Yeah.
that there's other time slots. So that's why I'm on, and it's actually this works really well, this time slot for me. He's been fantastic, from also from even stupid things like helping me get T-shirts and other knickknacks for the channel. He's been really good and very helpful. And I really appreciate all that he's done. Josh has been helpful as well too. I've asked him a lot of questions. He's been very helpful. 'Cause I wanted to get, I want to get out there and make sure, I want to get the message out there because, we're the front line out there for ham radio right now. Irrespective of.
Everybody goes straight to YouTube when they're getting into something new. I do it. You do it.
Mhm.
That's
It's not ARR. We're the new ARRL. Okay, we are it. Okay, and that's why people come out to us, and they come out to us to get facts and to get information and to find out and to do things simply and straightforward. And it's like, well, I'll watch your videos. I'll watch Michael Martin's videos on antennas, which he does a fantastic job on. It just I learned so much. Mike K at MRD, Smoking Ape. These guys, Steve, temporarily offline. You know, just they get into the nitty gritty and they explain a lot. They go down to the granular level, which is fantastic, and that is great. And they've been there for me, and they've helped answer questions for me as well too. So it's kind of like a partnership. That's how
yeah.
I look at this.
It's a community, like I say. It's just a great
Hmm.
community. It really is. Um, and like any community, there's guys that are really good, and there's bad guys and everything else. It is what it is, but it's a great community. I'm so proud to be a part of it, and I love it. And I just like my thing that really bothers me is time. I work 9-10 hours a day, and then I try to, all right, I got a little bit of time. What am I going to do? Am I going to go play radio and put up and film a video and do this? Or am I going to go sit and answer this whole week? I haven't replied to any replies on my videos or whatever. And going and making a video and playing ham radio always wins. And I kind of feel bad sometimes that I miss comments. I miss emails. I'm just horrible about it. And it's only because I think when I retire and I don't have to put in, 45, 50, 60 hours a week on a job that isn't ham radio, I can stay on top of that. I don't know if that's hurting me or what. And if people, I try to convey that in my videos, guys, if I missed you, don't take it personal. It's just like, I'm busy. You know what I mean? That's the
Oh
problem.
yeah. I'm 100% with you, Walt, because it's like I'm running 3 channels, and I'm trying to crank out at least a video a week per channel. Well, with the drone channel, it's easily two because and with this channel, it's easily two because of my live streams that I do. But answering a lot of these comments, and that's one of the things I wanted to do was because I saw and I got and this is he was a video photographer and who was doing drones, and I commented on several of his videos, and I never got responses. And he's pretty big, but it's like it really kind of took me aback. And I said, you know what? That's where I made a commitment to make sure, at least one day a week, maybe a Saturday or a Sunday, set aside a couple hours, and all I do is I answer comments during that time. That's worked pretty well for me because during the week, I'm like you, I work in IT, I work for public supermarkets, and it's 55, 60 hours a week. I mean, it's like pedal to the metal, 9 to
You,
5
you
kind
work
of deal.
for Publix?
Yeah,
Oh,
Publix.
you guys have the best subs in the world.
Oh my gosh, tell me about it. It's like,
I'm Publix.
my wife was telling me, before we got married, she's a native Floridian. She says, you've never had a sub until you've had one at Publix. And I was like, "Ah, whatever." I'm like, I've had subs. And I'm like, I come here, I'm like, oh my gosh, you were
We
so right. I mean, it's just like, wow.
we
Well,
have Publix
Publix
banks now too. That's like, I love it. They're like right there
Well,
on the outside.
Publix is now up. They've gone up into Virginia, and
Yeah,
they're opening stores in Kentucky now. I
yeah,
mean, it's just the original the owner George Jenkins. He didn't want to go beyond the state of Florida. And that really kind of floored me. I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, they're all up and down the East
right.
Coast. I mean, it's just they're and they you know what they do
Anybody
it right.
out there, if you've never had a Publix sub, you're missing it. It's the best. I don't know what
Oh
this
yeah.
they must sprinkle some magic dust in them things when they make them.
I,
That they were so good.
Well, I think one of the things is, and I found this out because we have to take a tour, the actual behind the scenes store tour, and
Mhm.
one of the things that they do is their buns are made in the bakery, okay,
Yeah,
and they know, and they're fresh every single day. I mean, there's no stale buns that come their way
right.
that day. Everything is constantly fresh, and I think that's the thing that kind of
And they
sets
use
them
that
apart.
too, like boar's head and all that. They use the higher end of the meats.
Oh, yeah, the higher end meats, yeah, I mean, it's just like, wow. Well, yeah, it's kind of I work from home 3 days a week,
Mhm.
so I can and I have a Publix a stone's throw away. A lot of times I'll go down, my wife said, "What'd you have for lunch?" And I would just,
Pub sub.
run down and get a sub kind of a thing.
Yeah,
So, but
yeah,
yeah, it's kinda but, I gotta say this, as far as the company is concerned,
yeah.
I've never worked for a better organization in my life, and I've worked for several Fortune 100 companies, and they don't hold a candle the way Publix treats their employees. They just
That's good to know.
Publix just they really above and beyond, and I'm gonna be really proud to retire and kinda sad because I really like my crew that I work with, but, when it comes time, it's in the rearview mirror, you know, see you guys later. It's
That's,
I'm
I
not
hear
gonna
you.
I'm not gonna hang my hat too much on that, but, um, one of the things for me, with ham radio, and somebody said, when I first got started was, go to try to find a local club. Go get hooked up with a local club. You need to get hooked up with a local. And it was like beating my drum, beating it down. So there was one here local to me, very close to me, but I ended up finding out I'm going to be 66 next month. I would have been the youngest person in that club. Okay.
That's my first club. I was the youngest person at in my
And,
back then. I was in my late
but I
50s.
ended up finding another one on the other side of town where I'm right in the mix, okay, and I like that, and they're trying to get younger people back in, which I think is fantastic, and they're doing things to do that,
I've
which
done
is
the same
great.
thing. The club I'm in is the Chesapeake Amateur Radio Service, Cars, in Chesapeake, Virginia, and I love my club. I really do. It's great. It's a great club, and I'm sad that I'm not going to be there for field day this weekend with them. I mean, they have an amazing club, and yeah, I you know what, I got by. I started without a club, and then I joined a club that was, like you said, I was the baby, I was the youngster, and all they wanted to do was just get together on Saturday mornings, all go together, have breakfast, and talk about their ailments, and that's just like, that's not what I wanted in a ham radio club, so. I hope none of them are watching. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just being
Well, no, I know exactly what you're saying because, that's one of the things, for me, a ham radio club should be an extension. I look at it as an extension of YouTube, all right?
yeah.
Hey, I need some help installing this antenna. I'm gonna be putting this in. I need a couple of hands to come out and help me with this. Can you guys come out? That kind of thing. That's what I look at a club as a club to do, okay? And then maybe have some meetings every now and then, have some guest speakers, which is all right, but these breakfasts and things like that, okay, it's all well and good, but, the whole main thrust behind something like this is, "Hey, I'm gonna need some help. I need to do this. I got questions. Can you help me? Can you come
Right.
out? Can you take a look at this? Just give me, just give me an eyeball. Let me know what's going on." So, but
I'm in
yeah, I agree with you.
club, one like that, the Chesapeake Amateur Radio Club. The other one I'm in is the other way around. It's what we can do for our club, and that is I'm in the USS Wisconsin, the Battleship Club, and we maintain radio and do our thing with the USS Wisconsin, which is a museum ship there in Norfolk across the river from where I can look out my living room window and see the ship. That's how close I live to it. And it means a lot to me. It really does, because to me that, having been involved with the US Navy, the Canadian Navy, awesome Navy, a bunch of navies in my career or whatever, in shipbuilding and engineering, that to have that, that historic ship right there with the radio room and everything that's going on with it, to be able to help preserve the history of it and whatever, and be a member of that club. I take great pride in that. And I tell you, working a museum ships on the air event is just absolutely amazing. It is just
I
a great
bet.
feeling. So if you're ever, anybody out there, you ever got an opportunity, you look around you and there's like a museum ship near you and you could be a part of that, it's awesome. It really is. It's an amazing thing.
Well, see, and that's a part of our history too. And for me, I would jump at a chance like that because of my dad being in World War II in the Navy, and just the lineage there. I just think something like that's fantastic. Well, one of the questions that I ask everybody when I have them on for guests, and I wanted to run this by you as well too. And there's no right or wrong answer to this, but you know, are as far as ham radio is concerned, do you think we are pulling in enough new people right now? Are we getting the message out there to get some new blood as far as ham radio is concerned?
I have mixed feelings on this. I'll tell you. Um, I think so, um, and I want to. I'm going to go down a little road here. What bothers me is the newer, younger bloods. It's a good thing that they're in it, but they all want. It seems to me like FT8 and that side of it, which needs to happen. It really does. I'm old school. I'm an HF guy with voice and attempting CW, whatever. My worries are that we're not that part of the hobby may start tapering down and digital modes and all that may take over. And I know I sound like an old, grumpy old man. I think it's good that I mean, there's room in this hobby for every mode, everything we're doing or whatever. So, but to answer your question is, I think we're bringing in newer people. My worries are the newer people, do they have the nostalgia and the, you know, and the history in mind of, what ham radio is and to keep it going. I mean, to me, ham radio goes all the way back. Like I said, when we first started talking, listening to AM radio signals and shortwave radio and the voice over the air or whatever, it just means a lot to me. And yeah, so to answer that question, um, yes. I hope the people coming in, um, don't forget us old guys and how we did it. And this goes right back. I've had videos out about grumpy gatekeepers or whatever. I don't want to be a gate. I'm trying not to sound like a gatekeeper. Yeah, I think we're doing okay. I just hope that these newer people coming in appreciate the history of ham radio and how we got here.
Well, one of the things that really impressed me was I had the CEO on of Ham Radio Prep, and I couldn't say enough about him. He's in his 30s
Hmm.
and just extremely gung ho about it. Ran into him at Hamcation and Professor Jim, and what they do. And, I just, they do what they so well. And so many people have become hams because of them and have gotten their licenses because of them. And I think, and I told him, I said, when I saw them, keep your foot on the gas pedal. Don't let up one second on this. You guys have really hit something on this, and I think it's fantastic what you're doing. And what I've done each year, every December I give away some swag and everything. But one of the things that I always like to give away are a couple, I'll call them scholarships for lack of a better term. Um, you know, um, with Ham Radio Prep, I think it's like 50 or $60 where you can take all the classes and pass them. I'll give away at least two or three of those because I think that's money that's well spent. Because I think if somebody's going to go ahead and take that, they're going to go ahead and it's really kind of foolproof. And that's why I'm trying to get my wife into getting her tech. And I think maybe I might be able to do that with this because she got to meet them as well, and they're wonderful. I had him on for a show. He was fantastic, and he just has a great attitude about things. And I really like where they're going with that. And I think people like that are the future. And I gotta.
Hey, you talk about your wife though. Don't. Um, I don't know. If I recently, a couple weeks ago, my wife and I were camping. I don't know if you saw the video, and my wife operated with me as a control operator. And I asked her. People go, "There's a tech coming. There's a tech coming." And my wife said, "I really want to do this some more, but I want to do it the way we just did it. I don't care about getting my license. I like being Mrs. K4OGO, and with you controlling everything, and just let me like talk to people." And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, guys, if you can get your wife, I can't believe I got my wife to that level, and she really wants to do it some more. Um, that that's my advice and recommendation. Get them out there and let them get excited about talking to people and having fun with
That's
it.
a good point. That really is. I mean, and that's the thing. You get people excited. It's like having Boy Scouts in and having them and getting them engaged and getting them excited, and it's like, yeah, they're going to take off. And it's the same kind of thing here. So that's fantastic. That's a great tool and a great resource.
It's
Um,
really cool. And my wife's always been into my radio side from the listening side. I mean, we always joke every Saturday we'll look at each other. You know what tonight is, and my wife will go, "It's Art Bell Somewhere in Time night," because we listen to that on Saturday nights on the on AM or shortwave radio. So so to get her involved and actually pushing the key or whatever and talking, that was a fun time for me. And like I said, she does. She says, I don't want to take the test. I don't want to study for it or whatever. Why do I need that? I got you. I'm like, okay, you got me to play. Like,
well, what's real interesting, and I kind of want to wrap things up here. I was a lot like you when I was growing up, 15 and 16 years old. I think I never forget. I think it was for my 15th birthday. My parents got me a 9-band realistic AM/FM shortwave radio. Okay, and I went out. I'm from Pittsburgh. I went out on a back porch stoop, and I had that antenna all the way up in the air, and I was pulling in stations all over the world. And I was mesmerized. I would stay out there until the batteries would die. I mean, it was just
that's
I
awesome.
I was just so enthralled with it, and that's how, I got, started in the first place. The other thing I wanna mention is this, and I kinda think you're right, with the FT8 kind of a thing. I'm not, here I am, I'm in IT, digital modes. I'm open to everything, okay? And I think you kinda get my gist where I'm coming from as far as, QRP is kind of my thing. It's like what I really enjoy doing. But you know what? I'm open to everything. But I think you're right. I think we need to accept everybody, and we need to make this open up our arms wide to get people in here. And I'm kind of like you. I like voice. I like HF. I like making that QSO. I like hearing on the other end. That's just who I am. I mean, that's just and always who I'm going to be. So, do you have any words of wisdom, any closing thoughts, Walt, before we wrap things up here?
No, just I think I do. It's something I really want to convey to everybody. Stop overthinking. Don't over. I did a video on this a couple months ago. The one thing I think that hurts ham radio is the people that think that every antenna has to be perfect. You have to calculate your loss in your coax. You got to know how you're radiating, what's going on, or whatever. Just put a wire in the air, hit the SWR button, get it down, get on the air, and play. You got the rest of your life to perfect an antenna. Don't listen to what I call them the drive-by engineers that tell you you're losing this, you got lost there, you'll never get out, whatever. I think that if I can, anybody that's new to ham radio, take everybody, take the two of us, everybody, a grain of salt. Go have fun. Don't listen to it. You pick and listen to the guys that are telling you to just go have fun. But don't worry when someone's saying, "Oh, you're doing it wrong," or "That won't work," and then that's kind of how my channel started when someone told me that won't work. Prove them wrong, and you know what? You don't have to be a rocket scientist. There's nothing wrong with just being the guy that pushes the mic, that memorized the answers to the question, got a radio, pushes the mic, and talks. That's what we're doing. We're pushing mics and talking to each other and making contacts. You don't have to be an expert in antennas. You don't have to build anything. You don't have to build balance. You can go out and buy everything, snap it together. If you're pressing the mic and you're making contacts, you're enjoying ham radio. And that's really what it's all about.
And you just really kind of hit the nail on the head, Walt. It's like I think I've heard it referred to as analysis paralysis kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You overanalyze stuff and you think too much. And it's just like and what I say on my drone channel: get out there and fly, okay? And here's the other thing: get out there, key that mic up, and make some contacts,
Right,
okay?
right.
Get your antenna set up and just do it because you know I see, and one of the things before we wrap things up here, I see a lot of people, oh, the solar cycles are blah blah blah, and it's like, oh, it's horrible, it's horrible. I said, well, you know what? Okay, get out there and try it anyway, because you know what? Where you live, it may not be affecting you. All right, so get out there, and don't just be stuck on 10 meters or 20 meters. Go around, take a look and
Yeah.
see, because stranger things have happened, because some bands, oh, that's only a daylight band. That's all. Oh, you know what? try, just be creative and
Exactly.
just and go out there and do that. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on tonight. Like I said, you're one of the guys. I love your videos. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep being you, okay? Because
Thank you.
you is just absolutely fantastic. And we'll get you on in a few more months. Stick around, while we wrap things up here. But I want to thank everybody for stopping by tonight. We had a wonderful crew out there tonight. Just absolutely wonderful. You guys did great in the chat tonight. Fantastic. Really appreciate that. Look forward to, I got a 62. I'm working on getting my 6200 hooked up to my vertical and getting out there and making some QSO. So I'm really excited about that. So look forward to all that. Guys, as always, it's a great day to make a QSO. 7 threes, everybody.
7 threes, guys.